Welcome everybody to this week of the Driveway Podcast. We have an all new setup here. This is a grouping you've never seen before in studio for the first time only. It's just me and our wonderful lead staff writer, Natalie Harrington.
Hi.
But that's not all. We've got Dave. We've got Dave across the country piping in remotely. Dave, how are you doing?
Good morning. It's still morning for me. Oh, it's like, guys, I know you're dealing with a lot of snow. It is so nice out here in California right now.
Dave,
it is.
Dave, that's unacceptable.
Like usually we get real winter out here. It'll be like in the 50s, and at night it goes down in the 40s. It's like kind of gray sometimes. It will hit rainy periods. It's like 80 degrees and like gorgeous out.
Can we pipe him out?
Yeah, let's. You know what?
That's it for me. All right, folks. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for stopping by.
This episode is all about peeling back the curtain. And we'll peel back a little curtain about this episode. We had some technical difficulties beforehand, but we figured it out. If you're hearing it, we figured it out. However, a lot of that was getting Dave in. Let's just take Dave out.
We're going to keep him?
Let's say, you know what, let's go back to 30 minutes ago.
Fallacy.
Yeah. We already wasted the time.
Yeah. I'll say it's just my mind is blown. I'm here in my co-working space in Pasadena, California, and there's a podcast studio. We have a new audio recording setup for the whole team here. It was not working audio-wise on my end. A gentleman who I have never seen, I've worked in this place for 7 years out of this office. A gentleman walked by. Apparently, he's a member. He's a sound engineer. He walked in the room.
Oh, he doesn't work there. He's a member just like you.
He's a member just like me. He doesn't work here.
Allegedly.
I think he's an apparition because he walked in. He was like, you need to unplug those two things that's causing feedback. Boom, boom. And he walked out. I'm not sure he was real, but he just saved the entire thing.
It's like he was an extension of Elliot's manifesting that this needed to be fixed.
Yeah, so like, again, behind the curtain, I was getting frustrated. I was not a happy boy a little bit ago, but apparently it wasn't it wasn't my fault at all, which makes me feel great.
So here we are.
Let's
talk cars.
So again, we're taking you behind the curtain. We're peeling away the layers of whatever. We are talking about automotive. We're talking about automotive journalism today. How it works behind the scenes. How we get the cars we test. How we got to where we are. Yeah. And it's going to be cool. I'm excited to talk about this topic. This is something we wanted to talk about earlier on, but we didn't feel like we had the right frame on it yet. So now what is this, episode 43? We've done enough of these now that now we can branch out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
this is the kind of stuff that, like, you meet people. I've got 2 kids in school. You're meeting new parents and stuff. And like, you have the first round of conversations like, oh, what do you do? And you kind of say, briefly, and then you move on. And then like a few times, they see you for a few times driving like different cars. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, and the cars all have weird license plates, which we'll get to in a minute. And then after a while, they're like, the third or fourth time they see you, they're like, all right, what do you really do? Like, I need a full explanation of like what's going on here. Yeah. And so what we're about to tell you is usually what we sort of explain to folks, because this is a very unique job. We all feel very lucky to have it. And we wanted to sort of share and let people know how this whole industry works in terms of evaluating cars.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's the teaser. That's the topic of the show. But before we get to the meat of the episode, we have some news, right? We're going to talk about a little bit of newsy bits. That's what we have it on our thing. Newsy bits. Dave, you're going to talk to us about Tesla and what they're doing. And
yeah.
Tesla's interesting. We can talk about Tesla a little bit later about how we don't get Tesla cars. But what's the news with Tesla this week?
I think if you ask any person on the street, hey, what's the best known self-driving, and it's not self-driving, we'll get to that in a minute, but the best known sort of colloquially, I can't even say that word, self-driving system around, what's the one people will say Tesla Autopilot. Mm-hmm. There have been many critics who have said Autopilot is highly misleading. The system is not capable of doing what one might assume Autopilot does on a plane, which is fly the entire plane all by itself without human interaction. And Tesla has famously sort of pioneered this name. Going back to 2020, Germany said it is misleading. You are not allowed to use that name in your advertisements. Now, here we are 6 years later. California has finally caught up and has banned Tesla from using that name for the same reasons. They say it is misleading, and they threatened to pull Tesla's dealer license in the state of California. Now, for any listeners or viewers who have been to California, Teslas are the most popular vehicle by a wide margin. I mean, they are falling out of trees here. So it was a pretty big threat by the state of California to say, you got to change this name. People are misusing this. They're overestimating the capabilities of Autopilot. So it's not Autopilot anymore. Long live Autopilot. But it is now called Traffic Aware Cruise Control. kind of like GM's Super Cruise or Ford's Blue Cruise, right? They're not overstating its capabilities. They also can't say full self-driving because it's not full self-driving by like a technical standard. It is now full self-driving supervised. So a few changes there, which was just sort of an interesting, catch up. So the next time you go to look at a Tesla, it will not have the name Autopilot anymore on it, and that is because of the state of California.
So it's funny. Europe sometimes makes changes. Like I think the iPhone has USB-C because of Europe, because they mandated it in Europe, and then they just decided to do it everywhere. Is this a same deal? Like Germany required it, and then U.S. didn't, but then California did?
Well, no, it's different than that.
Okay.
We had our own. I mean, in theory, the Department of Transportation would have been more strict on this, but the Department of Transportation and NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, has sort of been famously lax. Yeah, we just talked about
NHTSA.
Famously lax in enforcing sort of uniform standards on what's allowed by whom in which situations for hands-free driving systems. So they weren't really calling it on Tesla. So California, being the largest car market in the country, California took it upon themselves to be like, okay, you're not going to do it, federal government, we're going to do it here, and it's going to be a big enough deal because we're so big as a market, everyone else is going to follow suit. So,
and is that happening? Like if we had a Tesla here, they wouldn't call it Autopilot anymore?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think, I think they just...
As goes California, goes the rest of the states, right?
Yeah.
In this market, at least, right?
It's another, yeah. And I mean, we have our own waiver in terms of emissions too. So
yeah. Okay, so that's a little bit of Tesla news, Natalie.
Yes,
you're going to talk to us about
fun news.
About some fun news, yeah. Some Audi news.
But feel free to chime in, guys. So the Audi RS5 is back after a year off. We have a price, specs, and release date article up about it, so check that out for all the details. But it has a lot more power now, up almost 200 horsepower and 150 pound-feet of torque. That's because it's now a plug-in hybrid. So this is the big news, the big change. And it's interesting. It's cool. It's obviously going to make it a lot heavier and a lot more complex. So sort of similar to what we saw with the Mercedes-AMG C63. I'm curious, do we think the BMW M3 is going the same direction? I'm also curious, do we think we're going to see the Avant, the wagon here in the U.S.? I believe the answer to that is no.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Dave.
Well, a couple of things. The BMW M5, the new one, is a plug-in hybrid and gained like 1,000 pounds over the previous version.
Just 1,000?
And it's like, people are like, yeah, sure, it's capable, but I haven't driven it, so this is all hearsay. But it doesn't have the character. I mean, it's just like this like sledgehammer rather than like more of a scalpel as previous generation M5s have been. And so there's sort of a debate of like, wow, this is a highly capable car. It's super fast. It comes in a wagon. It's badass. And other people are like, it just completely lost the whole plot of BMWs of yore. This Audi might be kind of following in those footsteps of like getting heavier. There's a wagon version, but it might not come to the US.
Yeah.
I thought we were good. Like, guys, Europeans, I thought we had a thing going. We were going to bring wagons to America. And now Audi's like, I don't know.
Well, just make Germany mandate them, and then California might mandate them, and now we have wagons again, right?
Next thing you know.
Yeah. But yeah, this one definitely got, let's see. This is a lot heavier than the previous RS5. Well, there was no RS5 wagon, right? There was the RS6 Avant. That was very cool.
Right.
And then there was...
But there is the RS5 Avant for Europe, definitely. Like they've put pictures up of it. Yeah.
I need to go to Europe and spend more time in Europe.
Yeah, it's coming.
Don't we all?
But are we getting it? Likely no. It seems like
that bums me out.
Yeah. Seems like it's not going to happen. Alas.
So we'll see. Hopefully we get our hands on the sedan version of the RS5 and see what it's like. But I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the comments. Do people like this era we are in, where like the capability and the speed of these vehicles, it's going up, or are we afraid we're losing the character and kind of the tactile feel and communication with the road that these cars used to have?
Right, like we're chasing these big numbers at what
big
cost?
numbers,
We're getting big numbers for weight then too, and
what's that famous? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're there.
It's almost like we're following the pickup truck kind of sector footsteps of just like more power.
More of everything. Yeah.
More expensive.
Right. You're having no fun while you're pulling 2 Gs around a corner because you have no feeling of the road beneath you. So we'll see. Looks cool.
Yeah. I maybe prefer the sort of more understated styling of the previous gen a little bit, but I do think it looks really cool. Big white.
So I'm going to spring one on you guys. This was not planned in the pre-pro meeting.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Speaking of things that don't look cool,
Uh-oh.
I want to pull up because just yesterday, Chrysler took it upon themselves to reveal what the next Pacifica minivan will look like.
Oh.
The reveal everyone was waiting for.
Yeah, like, no one saw this one coming. But Natalie, I just sent it to you. You can look. Elliot, I'm going to share my screen and and hopefully you can pull this up for viewers.
Yeah.
I did see this.
Let's just have a quick dialogue about what that thing is, because I like the current Chrysler Pacifica looks. The reliability is not good, especially the plug-in hybrid, but it has good looks. It also has the non-plug-in hybrid has those stow and go seats, right? Those are the seats that fold into the floor in the middle row, which as a parent,
That's like a killer feature.
Yeah.
Such a cool feature. Every minivan should have licensed that. That's amazing. But Chrysler, that's the only product they have right now.
They're literally banking their whole company on this redesign.
On a minivan. Can you imagine?
I mean,
so this is
I can
what
imagine.
They released this picture on their own Instagram. It's a heavy refresh this is not an all new generation. It's a heavy refresh. Natalie, can you see it?
I can.
I
and I did see it yesterday.
I feel like you're the kindest person on this podcast. You'll be the most diplomatic. What are your thoughts? Because mine are. Yeah, I have some.
Okay, I'm guessing I could figure what direction your thoughts are going. So profile wise, I feel like it's heading in the Kia Carnival direction, trying to be like, we're not a minivan, we're an MPV. We're a multi-purpose vehicle. We heard you thought minivans were lame, and so we're moving away from that. This front end, there is a lot going on here. I will say, and maybe this is me just being kind, I think there will be some confirmation bias after seeing it a few times. It'll start to look less and less weird. It's not like the existing Pacifica is super beautiful or anything. We're just so used to seeing it.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a big, I'm not broken up about losing the old looks, certainly. These are definitely not design choices that I would have made.
That's a very kind.
It's edgier, right?
It's edgier.
It has more angles. It's sharper. Just in the front, the side profile looks exactly the same.
You think?
Yeah, I think this is like a refresh. It's not a whole new model. And we can't see the back. And the back.
I think the profile looks different.
Hey,
we'll see.
Chrysler. When you pulled this up, Dave, before you said what it was, I thought this was a Chevy Bolt. It almost has like a Bolt front end to it, which is weird because that's about a third of the size of a Pacifica. So
I think the thing I don't love is there's almost a light bar going across the front, but then it's segmented.
Yeah,
that just seems weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a budget thing, not getting one long light across. But
it looks like it's the Pinnacle trim. Which would be their highest trim.
Top of the heap there.
So you'd think it would have all of the lighting everywhere, all of the chrome. I like the way the current one looks. I think it's pretty classy. I mean, Chrysler's always tried to be like the classy version of Dodge, Ram, whatever, Plymouth, when there used to be Plymouth.
With the winged logo, you always know we're going for high end.
And like
logo.
this. Yeah. There's nothing classy. I'm just like, and it's funny, universally, people are like, that's a Kia. What are you doing? It has lost any classiness, but it's not super sporty. It's just anonymous and futuristic for no good reason. I don't know. I'm hugely disappointed. And maybe confirmation bias. I will say when the current BMW 7 Series came out, I couldn't stand it. It just seemed like the most soulless chunk of car ever. And you see them all over the place. And now I'm maybe I've just given up. I'm
fine, I'll accept
it. Maybe that'll happen to this one. I don't know. I'm surprised. So anyway.
Do we think this is a new?
Minivan.
Do we think this is a new Chrysler logo that we're looking at though? Right in the middle, kind of inside or under the light bar?
one was so classy. Like, yeah, I know. I see what you're looking at. I don't know. It's weird.
Almost blurry or something in these images, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it. I'm a minivan fan, so
everyone who listens to the show, we love them as a concept.
Yeah, a company keeping their minivans fresh, even if we don't love the freshness.
That's true.
I support
the investment.
I support the continued
ancient Odyssey that
the
you're still charging
attention.
$50,000 for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think, Elliot? Would you drive this based on how does it compare to the Sienna, your holy grail minivan?
So I think my hesitation with the Pacifica would be the Stellantis Chrysler reliability reputation that is not a great one.
Fair.
And I think Honda and Toyota, and I guess Kia too, I just trust all more. And I think I trust Toyota and Honda more than Kia. So it's kind of like my trust level, Toyota, Honda, Kia, Chrysler. And I don't think any of them are particularly beautiful cars. So I think the looks are kind of third, fourth, fifth, sixth on the list for me of what I care about.
Sienna does have that great green color.
Toyota does a good green.
That's the green. That's the color to get it in.
Yeah, Toyota does a really good green. Yeah. Well, this is a 27 Chrysler Pacifica. Do we know when? I mean, if they're showing this face, do you think at the New York Auto Show we'll see more of it? Is that the? I don't know.
Wow, that's I hadn't thought about that. Very educated guess.
You know what?
I would imagine.
That's me, educated,
and educated.
And a guesser.
Very educated.
This
okay.
was a spy shot. This was Chrysler releasing it themselves, so they're clearly trying to get some momentum going ahead of a reveal. So yeah, that would New York Auto Show sounds makes sense. I don't know that for sure, but
yeah,
makes sense.
Good bet.
Okay, well that's a little bit of our news. That went a little longer than I thought, but so let's do this first bit fairly quickly. We're peeling back the curtain, pulling. What are you peeling? Do you peel back a curtain? Do you push away a curtain? Pull. We're looking behind the curtain at this industry. So let's quickly
drawing aside the curtain.
Yeah, let's really quickly before we do anything else. How did we get here? What brought us to this journalism adjacent, maybe auto journalism place? Dave, you've been in it the longest. Why don't you take it away?
I'm the oldest by a.
Well, I didn't say that.
As many careers go, dumb luck and being in the right place at the right time, and a little bit of preparation. So I was working at the LA Times as like a news web producer, but I've always been a car guy. Grew up a car guy. My dad is a car guy. I have a master's in journalism. I always sort of knew I wanted to work in journalism.
I didn't know you had a master's degree. That's news to me.
You can't tell when you talk to me.
I've known you for years. We've done 43 episodes of this, and I did not know that you were a master.
You couldn't tell?
I am. But my
wondered.
point is, I had aspirations of being in journalism.
Yeah.
So I'm working at the LA Times, and I was sitting next to the features news producer, this woman named Joni. But she's still in the car industry. Joni, if you're listening, hello. And she had LA Times had a very well-known car reviewer, Dan Neal, won a Pulitzer at the LA Times for his car criticism. With Pulitzer, I mean that's the Oscar of. He was the first car critic, ever, and probably only one who ever will win it. So there were articles or just some stuff that he didn't have time to do, and she said, "Hey, I know you're in the cars. Would you want to start doing this on the side? We can't pay you, but you'd have a byline, and it would be on the web under LA Times." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah!" And so I did that for maybe a year, 18 months, and then Dan Neal left the LA Times to go to the Wall Street Journal, where he still is today. Probably my favorite writer. Read him every week. And they were either too lazy or too cheap to hire somebody. And they were like, all right, we've got this kid who's been doing it. We know he knows cars. We know he can write, I think. Let's have you. And so I did it kind of in an interim basis, reviewed cars for LA Times and kept doing the web stuff. And then after like a year, they said, okay, just do the car reviews. So yeah. Did that for a number of years, and then I left LA Times, went to Automotive News, which is like an industry, magazine, news magazine. Covered that for a few years, and then went and joined Autolist, where we still am today. And then in 2020, CarGurus bought Autolist, and here we are. So that's been a fun journey. Yeah.
Wow. What a story.
So if anyone's looking for a takeaway, What's the old quote? Luck is like preparation meets, I don't know. Someone help me out here. But like when the opportunity came, I had
luck is
something to show
preparation meets
for-
opportunity, right?
Yes, there you go. So I was prepared in that I had been doing writing for free on the side, sort of showed my interest in it. And it was a very sort of organic interest. So just get out there and write, right? If you want to be an auto writer or video. I mean, these days, it's like everything's AI. I don't know if anyone's writing anything anymore. But it used to be like, just sit down and just start somewhere.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Wow. Cool. Okay, let's move right along. Thanks for sharing, Dave. Natalie, what brought you to this point, this illustrious point on this podcast?
Interesting thing. I think the takeaway from my story would be very much the same. If you want to do it, start doing it and put yourself in the way of opportunity. Here's why. So I quit my job because I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to be in cars. I've always been a car person. I had a completely unrelated career. And finally, actually, it was the Burn the Boats motivational speech. If you check that out online, if you need a little kick in the pants, that was what did it for me. I said, oh my God, this job is my boat and I have to get out of here. So anyway, so I was freelancing for about 2 years, taking any writing that I could, but I was also, as you know, I'm on the board of the Lars Anderson Auto Museum, volunteered there for a long time, and I was writing for our magazine, our quarterly publication. Because of that, I was able to join the New England Motor Press Association, and that is where I met Matt Smith, who normally sits in this chair, but is not with us today.
And we should say you're channeling a bit of Matt right now.
I'm in Matt's chair, a.k.a. the hat chair.
Yeah, that's a hat guy. Natalie took a seat, so Natalie's hat girl.
Someone had to represent as the hat person on the podcast. That's me today. So Matt and I met at a NEMPA event, and I was posting work I was doing on LinkedIn. We were connected on LinkedIn, and he reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to do some freelancing for us? Started with production editing. Ultimately, I wound up freelancing for CarGurus for about 5 months, and then a full-time position opened up. And Matt said, I really think that you should apply for this. And I was kind of like, I don't know, I work for myself. Like, I got a pretty great thing going on, but okay. Talked to Matt, talked to Chris, heard how wonderful CarGurus is with benefits and everything. And it was an opportunity I could not pass up. And I'm really glad I took it. I've learned a ton, and I feel like doing a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have gotten to do on my own. I don't know if I would have had even the know-how about how the industry works to get myself all these opportunities that I've had here. But it was all on the strength of articles that I wrote on a volunteer basis and putting it out there. So, yeah,
cool.
Similar situation.
I love that because I think people would be very surprised if there are auto writers or publications, Car and Driver, Motor Trend, Edmunds, Kelly Blue Book. So many of those folks got their start working for like these ancillary, very obscure outlets, and then just sort of worked their way in. Like one of my favorite writers was, same kind of thing, like volunteering. He owned a Porsche and started writing for Porsche's magazine.
That's an awesome one.
Just like sending stuff in. I know another writer who wanted a job, and so he reviewed his own car, which was like at the time like a 20-year-old jalopy. And sent that in to a number of outlets, and he is now, has had a career for 25, 30 years. So I feel just like, don't feel like anyone who's listening, don't feel like you need to start at the top. Everyone you read and like has started at the bottom and worked their way up. So
yeah, I so admire that. I mean, some people just start their own blogs and things, or if you're, not that kind of a self-starter, you can totally look for like a museum or a car clubs magazine. All of those types of outlets are looking for contributors. Yeah.
Nice.
How about you,
Nice.
Elliot? How did you?
Nice.
Nas.
Nice is what I meant. So I'll make mine pretty quick because it's quicker. I, after college, did an AmeriCorps program here in Boston, and I ended up with that luck meets preparation equals opportunity, whatever we said it was. I ended up the staff photographer for that company for almost 10 years. Loved it, traveled a lot, traveled around the country. Did I say what it was? City Year was the company.
You did not, but there we go.
Fantastic education-based nonprofit AmeriCorps program. Loved it, but it was time to move on, and I found CarGurus with the video work first, not the car first. I was was looking to move from photography into video because that was the way everything was moving. There were just fewer and fewer staff photographers around, whereas every company had a video person. So I figured I was doing video as well, but so I wanted to move into full-time video. Found the job at CarGurus, applied. I also interviewed with Matt. Matt predates all of us on the team, or not predates us, but has been around longer than all of us.
CarGurus,
11 years, I think.
Yeah.
Almost literally. Yeah.
Matt's not even here. We're talking too much about Matt.
His presence is always with us.
But it's
ears are burning.
Dave, you mentioned somebody reviewed their own car. As part of my application, I did like a 2 or 3 minute sizzle reel of my 2019 or 2016 Ford Focus.
That's cool.
I should look it up to see if it's awful.
Did they ask you to do that, or was that your idea?
I think it was my idea.
I love
Maybe
that.
I don't remember. But anyway,
so smart.
found the job not from cars first, but from video first, and fell in love with the world of cars. I'd always been interested in cars, and I'm a big studier of reviews. If I buy a toaster oven, I'll watch 35 reviews before I find the right one.
Yep.
So working on car reviews was a really good fit. So that is us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about how we review cars, how we get cars. I'm gonna move this up a little bit. How do we get access to the cars? Natalie, you mentioned NEMPA. Stands for New England Motor Press Association. It's a little bit unique in the industry. Dave, you are out in LA. Tell us about how your press fleet works and how you get access to the cars that we do.
Yes. So, and this is going to be true for most outlets. So anyone who is watching, reading other outlets reviewing cars, we know you're not. But if you ever look out there,
they would never.
Other outlets
If you
beyond
see one
CarGurus who
on
are
a magazine stand or something.
evaluating cars. LA, as I understand it, has the largest fleet of, they're called press cars. There are 3 different fleet companies. All of the automakers in the industry have these marketing budgets. And in those marketing budgets are dollars to get these cars, production cars, into the press fleets because it is considered a marketing exercise. They want these cars being evaluated because people are talking about them, they're seeing them. And sometimes they take a little risk if the car isn't universally loved, but it's still worth the automaker's money paying for these cars to be taken to the press fleets. Like I said, I think LA has the largest by volume because we have the most number of media outlets that are based out here. So there are 3 different
Almost
companies.
everybody is based out there, it seems.
Everyone cool. 3 different press fleet or companies that run the fleets for the automakers. So the automakers are paying these fleet companies. They're giving them the cars. These companies are then handling all the scheduling, all the maintenance, and you work with usually the fleet company itself. I've known these people. I've been doing this for 17 years. So I know them, they know me. Every now and then, depending on the car or sort of the scope, what you're going to do with the car, you actually have to talk to someone at the automaker. But generally, if they know you, you just work out your scheduling with the fleet company. The cars themselves are insured by the automaker, the car itself. You are still required to have your own insurance to handle yourself, right? If you were in an accident, your medical bills. All of that is void if you are driving under the influence.
Good
Doing
note.
something stupid.
They're very strict. A couple of automakers will pull your driving record regularly. I actually have an email from one right now. They want to make sure you still have, there's no, egregious violations on your driving record.
They want to be able to trust you.
They need to be able to trust you, and they also want to make sure you're creating content. That you're not just taking cars.
For sure.
And then this is where it's kind of cool. You have each car for a week, and they work out the scheduling, and they'll bring the car to you. And if it's electric, it's usually fully charged. If it's gas, it usually has a full tank of gas. Beyond that, you're expected to, fill it up yourself. And then they pick the car up a week later. And you just, so you have the car. You do what you want with it. Sometimes they'll put on mileage limits, like if it's a Ferrari. At the LA Times, there were some Ferraris because LA is the largest luxury market in the country. I have not driven a Ferrari in many years, but they would be like, there's a 100-mile limit. Like you can't go to Vegas in this thing. This is not, no extracurriculars. But generally, normal cars, they just expect you to use them as the owner might.
Yeah.
So that's LA. I know we have the biggest fleet. I mean, you guys, Boston, the fleet's smaller out there, right? And it's like one company.
I think it's considerably smaller.
It is smaller. Yeah, and that is the difference. So Elliot mentioned NEMPA. So NEMPA's our press organization. Our fleet comes from a company called Automotion, but NEMPA happens to work exclusively with Automotion, and Automotion happens to work exclusively with NEMPA members, which is a little bit different from how it's handled elsewhere.
Oh, so you have to be a member.
You have to be a member of the Regional Press Association.
Yeah, that makes us official legal journalists. Like, we're not just kidding around.
Elliot is being facetious, for the record.
But we are official members of the Press Association. So
we are.
That makes me feel official.
We are. But yeah, so it's a little bit different here. There are fewer cars. We're not as big a market.
Yeah.
We cover a large territory. New England is large in a lot of states.
Yep.
And we do some special things like winter vehicle testing. I think, journalists here are uniquely positioned for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's different. So there are times when I get a car that Elliot then has, or vice versa, and Matt, which is kind of cool because then we can trade notes, and we all have our own takes. You get the benefit of hearing 3 different people's experiences with our varying lifestyles and things like that. And on that, different.
So we try to review, give a full long form review to. We do two long form reviews a week, right? So that's roughly 100
videos
per year. Yes, sorry, video reviews. You are writing reviews sometimes. Everyone's sometimes writing. My entry into this is the videos. If we tend to only do one long form video review, but we all get these cars, so we make a lot of short content. So social media content, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and that's where we can, like, you have a take that is viewable on YouTube Shorts, and I have a different take, and that's how you can kind of like, do you agree with Elliot more often, or do you agree with Natalie more often? And that's how you find your favored reviewer and see what you start to trust.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. And part of that's because, like Dave said, you can't be getting cars and not producing content on them. That's just not worth it to the automakers. So but that doesn't mean the content has to be positive. We are always saying what we actually think. I know I'm skipping ahead a little here in terms of like our notes, but we often get in cars that are from different classes week to week, and we never let that affect our take on a vehicle. We're always
saying if you are in a Ford Escort 1 week, and then an Aston. I'm picking cars that don't exist anymore. And then an Aston.
When was the last time you were in a Ford Escort, Dave?
Fun fact: the first car I ever drove was a Ford Escort, which I backed into traffic when I was like 3. It was my parents.
Don't let the automakers hear that you were driving at 3. They might not trust you after that.
No driving record then. No, but I think Natalie raises a good point of like, we're not comparing one car to the one we had just before it, because there can be a huge difference. I mean, Elliot, you had the Land Rover Defender Octa, and then you could be in, a Ford Escape the next week. You're not comparing those two cars to one another. I think we've done this. You evaluate each car in the scenario that that owner is going to use it, right? So you're not comparing what you had the week before to what you have right now. You're just saying, this is a $150,000 Octa with 9 billion horsepower. How does this, suit the needs of its target audience? Whereas you get in the Ford Escape and you're saying this is a $35,000, small crossover. You get pretty good at being like, sort of, all right, blinders on. How is this product fulfilling its purpose relative to its competition and people's expectations for that car?
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, for me, when I first started doing my content on cars, I looked at it a lot of like, how does this work for me? Yeah. And there's value to that because, if you find a person that you have the similar lifestyle, then yes, you can create that. But I had to learn over the course of a few videos that, like you said, Dave, you're reviewing it from the intended buyer's point of view, not my point of view. And that's something that I think I learned, hopefully quick enough.
It's time to get in that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cars that come to us that, again, thankfully, luckily, privileged to get delivered to our driveway. What about when we go to the cars? Their first drives, previews.
So this would be so the cars that we have here in the fleets are cars that almost always one could go out and buy. They're sitting on dealer lots, right? In terms of timing, they're already available to the public. When automakers want to get ahead of that curve, and they want to get content on those cars out from us, the media, ahead of those cars being available to consumers, they often, or almost every
Usually.
model, will do a press launch. And this means the automaker flies in and invites journalists. Sometimes it'll invite the journalists themselves if they're a freelancer or sort of if there's a relationship, if it's like a known reviewer. Other times they'll just say, hey, media outlet, we're inviting you to send one person on your behalf to this event. And you go, they fly to someplace around the country, and you go and you spend a night or two there. You usually sit down in the morning with product planners and or engineers. They sort of walk you through, there's a presentation, and it's, propaganda is too strong a word, but they're trying to sort of sell you on all the positive qualities of the car. It's like, I always laugh because they're always saying, this is so much better than our previous one. Like we've improved everything about it. And you're like, well, yeah. Like just once I want to hear someone be like, works. The other one, the old one was better. But I just always laugh at that. So, you sit down and there's engineers and usually, sometimes powertrain engineers and, exterior, interior designers, kind of depending on how big a push they want to make for this vehicle. So there's people you can talk to who had, a hand in designing and producing this vehicle. And then usually there's sort of a route you go and drive these cars. They give you a route they'd like you to take in that region, but they're pretty lax in you can sort of take the car where you want within reason. And you evaluate it. Sometimes you're paired up with another journalist, which I find highly distracting because you're sitting there trying to evaluate the car. You only have a few hours with the car.
Yeah. And you got to chit chat.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to make small talk, or even if I know the journalist, and you get to know these folks pretty well. I don't want to talk. I want to sit there and make sure I'm soaking up what this vehicle is doing because I've got 3 hours with it, and then I have to go write or film a whole evaluation of it. Those impressions are usually embargoed. So embargo is when an automaker picks a date and a time, like literally to the hour, on a time zone, and says, "Okay, we've given you all the access to this car. We've told you everything about it. You have all your driving impressions. No one can publish anything about this vehicle. You can show pictures ahead of time, but don't publish your impressions, what you think about it, until 6 a.m. Monday the 9th, 6 a.m. Eastern time, Monday the 9th. No one is allowed to say anything until then. And that sort of gives everyone in the media a fair amount of time to sit down, get all their impressions, get all the content ready. So, just because you got in the car first doesn't mean your stuff's up first.
Levels the playing field, for sure.
Levels the playing field, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that begs the question, well, what if you break the embargo? It depends on the automaker. There is one automaker.
Dave has a story.
There is one automaker that is historically vindictive. And I mean vindictive if you break an embargo. To the point where even if it wasn't you who broke the embargo, but if this vehicle, if somebody accidentally publishes, because you can set your publishing timer online on a timer, and maybe you put the wrong date in and it publishes early by accident. If you were then a different publication, sees that this other publication broke the embargo and says, hey, they broke it, we're seeing news, here's about this car, the automaker will be sort of, you'll get retribution for both media outlets, even if it wasn't you who accidentally published something. To the point where there are stories where this automaker's vehicle was revealed accidentally. There were several other outlets that reported on it being revealed accidentally. Journalists for those other outlets were about to board a flight for a press drive for this automaker, and the automaker canceled their flight and said, nope, your website wrote about this. You broke the embargo, even though it wasn't their website, and canceled the trip on them and said, nope, you're not coming on our trip.
Wow.
So it just sort of, it gets in the way of access. Automakers, if you make them mad, they'll just sort of restrict your access for a period of time. Is sort of the.
And we should say, as far as I'm aware, CarGurus has never broken an embargo.
Not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge.
We take great pains to avoid that, for sure. We also just don't want to, we play by the rules, and these folks they've invited us out to. They place their trust in us, right? And we don't want to break that trust.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Professional reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
So I bring up first drives because all of us, when you're listening to this, all of the recent travel we've done is now live. We hit the embargoes. Yay, we had success. But all of us around this table or call were just on trips. We were just on a couple of these first drives. Actually, not technically a first drive for you, Natalie. Why don't you go first?
Because it was like a preview drive. Yeah, Natalie, walk us through.
I want to talk about Natalie's recent Quebecois trip.
Yeah. Okay. So, and this was a bit of an anomaly in a few ways. One, that different things were embargoed. So it wasn't the driving impressions this time. It was the interior. This is the Volkswagen Atlas 2027, new generation of an important vehicle for Volkswagen. Their 3-row SUV. And we drove it exclusively on ice, on an iced lake in Montreal or in Quebec. And so it was a very cool.
Why did they have you drive on ice?
So I think partly because they didn't want us to get a super clear sense of the driving experience. I mean, we didn't get to drive it on the road, right? Like, this was not a review trip. Yeah. That wasn't really the point of it. I think this is partly just a hype trip ahead of the official reveal of the Atlas, which will be at the New York Auto Show. So
you're like, how do the car drive as you're going like sideways across the river?
Exactly. And interesting, that was the point. Like, we're trying to go sideways. Obviously, the Atlas is a family vehicle. It was hard to make it go sideways, which is important. Like, it should be. It should be. We had to turn off traction control, put it in off-road mode, not snow mode, because you want to be able to turn off electronic stability control. It was a whole thing. But it was very cool. And one of my favorite sort of like side perks from these kinds of trips is when you get to work with professional drivers as instructors. Doesn't always happen, but in this particular case, it did. And it was two really cool guys, Kenny Reedman, who's currently racing in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, and he's like a pro sport bike champion, and Simon Dionvien, who's from NASCAR Canada.
Oh. Did you hear that, Dave? That was
great. They were there to help us learn to like drift and do these figure eights, and it was awesome. But the whole time I was like, I wish they didn't make me put my phone in a box because I want to be getting footage of this. It was so cool. It was also my first time driving a camouflaged vehicle. Yeah. So like they had tape, covering the taillights and the headlights, so you really couldn't get a great sense of what the new Atlas will look like.
Yeah. Did they show you what it will look like with like no phone or camera? Did they?
No.
Because sometimes they will. They'll like, all right, we're gonna have you come out. The vehicle's camouflaged. You can take camouflage photos, but like at the end of the program, we're gonna go into a room with this car. And we're gonna show you what it's gonna look like. No one's allowed to talk about it, but just for you as a journalist who's gonna cover it.
No, they didn't do that. But they also did not camouflage the interior, so I do know what the interior is like, and they were very explicit that is strictly embargoed, and I can't say a word about it.
I will say, Volkswagen.
You're even here?
What's that?
I asked Natalie, what does the interior look like? And she said, I can't tell you. I'm under embargo. So even within the family, she's not talking.
There's no secret telling here.
She's trustable over here.
Natalie raises a good point, because with the access to professional drivers, sometimes if it's a sports car, the automaker will have this press drive on a track, which is always hilarious because to me, there are three kinds of journalists who drive. There are some who are, without question, fantastic drivers. Mm-hmm. These are guys and gals who, in their own spare time, are racing, amateur racing. They're doing 24 Hours of Lemons, which is the sort of fun racing series where you're racing kind of a beat up piece of crap. I
don't know if your French pronunciation was just worse than Natalie's.
No, it's Lemons. it's a play on Le Mans.
Yeah.
So you get these folks who are very good drivers, and they're out there and they're confident, and they're in these cars driving them well. Then you get the second tier of folks who think they're that good, but they're not. And every now and then, one of them will like stuff the car into like the side, not into something, but they'll go off the track or they'll spin out. Those are usually the folks, and they're usually men who are overestimating their abilities. They're always the ones that are wearing. There's this company, Pelote. Am I pronouncing that right? That makes driving specific shoes.
The shoes, those. Oh man!
And you get these guys who are like in jeans and like there's little, they're older and this paunch, and then they're sitting there with their driving shoes, and you're like, oh buddy, or like they bring their own helmet,
and they have their gloves too.
Yeah, they have their gloves, and they bring you don't need to bring your own stuff. If you do need a helmet, the automakers have that. Sometimes you don't even need one.
I can already tell. I'm tier 3. Whatever tier 3 is, that's what I am.
And like, and it's just like, I know I'm not great. I'm not trying to be great. I'm out there, I'm willing to push my limits a little bit, but also I don't want to be stuffing the car into the wall. So, there's a spectrum. But at the end of the day, at these events, if there are, like Natalie was saying, they will get, and there's usually like an instructor there, they'll do hot laps. So you'll spend the day getting to know the track and getting to know the car and how it feels and all that. And you'll feel pretty good. You've been, working up your confidence. And you're like, all right, I think I get this track. I'm feeling the car. And then you get in with a pro driver and they do a hot lap, which is them going as fast as they can with you in the passenger seat. And your ego just flies right out the window as you're pulling 3Gs sideways. And you're like, I am the worst driver alive. This human being is like having a conversation. They could be drinking a cup of tea as they're like the car's sideways and, revving to, unholy numbers. And you're like, that's always interesting because then you're like, this is what the car can do. Yeah. I wasn't even getting, and not even the best journalist drivers are getting to like the true threshold. These days, cars are so capable. Then you're like, oh, that's what you can do in these cars. That's kind of cool. It's very humbling.
My 9/10 is like they're 5, 5, 6.
It's like, oh my gosh, you think you are okay, and then man, it's eye opening. Yeah.
So that was my recent drive. Elliot, you were also on a recent trip.
A little bit different from your trip. Sometimes the automaker, whether it's a big enough deal or if they trust us enough, they will grant us 2 seats.
And I don't think that's what this one was about. But yeah, we wouldn't have had time for video.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it was Volkswagen not trusting us.
I don't mean to imply that that's what it was. But sometimes they'll grant us 2 seats. And in that case, I go along, and whether it's with you, whether it's with Matt, I've never actually shot Dave, but with Cliff.
We have a videographer out here.
Yeah, so they'll grant us a second seat, and that means the videographer can go, and we can do like a full long-form video, which is nice. So I was on a trip with Matt. It was funny. We were with Toyota to see the new CHR and BZ Woodland. And then the very next week, we were with Subaru to see the Subaru Uncharted and the Trail Seeker, which are identical sister cars, brother, sister, sibling cars. So we saw them right after the other.
Which is so cool, that back-to-back. That's awesome.
The Toyota ones, that embargo was earlier, so that's been out there. And actually, by the time you're listening to this, the Subaru ones are available too. But so we drove the Uncharted and the Trail Seeker, and I'm an EV fan. That being said, whenever there's an EV coming my way as a press car, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be tough because I don't have a charger. Yeah. But I'm a fan of EVs, right? And these are good EVs. They really are. I think, Dave, just like you, in your review, you reviewed the Solterra. The second generation was leaps and bounds ahead of the first gen. Yeah. And these first gen Trail Seeker and Uncharteds are starting where the Solterra got their second chance.
Nice.
And they're really good. So the way you can think about the sizing is the Crosstrek is to the Uncharted. The Forester is to the Solterra, and the Outback is to the Trail Seeker. I'm trying to keep those names in order.
Yeah, a lot of names that like hard. What's tricky with Subaru is they're launching 3 new nameplates.
Yeah, something like that.
And no one has any like way to remember what's the bigger one versus the smaller one. Like and there's no like number designation. Yeah. So
I think Matt actually said this. The Uncharted is the CHR with more vowels, right? Okay. So that's how you can the CHR is the Uncharted.
I appreciate that.
They're the small ones.
Yeah,
I like a mnemonic device.
Yeah, and the Trail Seeker is basically an electric Outback, and it's really good. I think I have all my stats here, so if you guys have any questions,
I'm excited to drive that. That's the car that could land in the Undercoffler driveway.
I think the same. And again, it's the same thing as the Toyota BZ Woodland, 375 horsepower. All-wheel drive. I think it starts, base price is around 40. Yeah, so 40 MSRP, $39.95. Really good. Really nice. We took that one off-road, and I think it's a really good video. So go check out the video. That's the one.
So the Toyota version is the BZ Woodland?
The BZ Woodland is the same as the Trail. I shouldn't say the same. Is the sibling to the Trail Seeker.
You tested the BZ Woodland as well.
The week before. And all 4 of those videos available on YouTube now. Go check them out. You'll get to see Matt and what he thinks about them. But yeah.
I'm curious what Toyota does because the BZ Woodland is a mid $40,000 higher riding wagon. Well, they also have what am I thinking of? What's the large sedan the Crown?
And the Crown Signia.
They have the Crown Signia. I love the Crown Signia.
Great.
It is a hybrid. It is all-wheel drive. I was getting mid 40 miles per gallon on that thing, and I have a lead foot. Lexus levels of interior refinement and quality and luxury. It's like it does all of the things. Like I thought that was such a great vehicle. My fear is that it's the same size, kind of the same look, and it's like fuel efficient, that they're just going to wipe that thing away once the BZ Woodland comes out. Like they won't have them coexist because there's probably not enough buyers for both of them. So maybe it's actually not. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe it's a good thing because then on the used market, I can go pick up a Crown Signia.
Crown Signia is really nice. I really like that. But Toyota's big enough that they what do they have? 50 different models, so they can have a gas version and an electric version, right?
I hope. Yeah, I hope.
So the one interesting thing. This is the last thing I'll say on the Subarus. The Uncharted, a Subaru, they have a base trim which is front wheel drive.
Ooh.
Which is unlike Subaru's Mantra, but they can start the price at around $35, whereas the CHR does not offer a front wheel drive version, only all wheel drive, so it starts higher. But it's odd that Subaru would be the one offering a front wheel drive. Toyota does not. And apparently, Dave, you might be seeing them, but we probably won't. They expect to sell them in limited quantities, mostly in California. So
yeah, I mean, I get it. It seems weird that they wouldn't have that be the Toyota, because also I think if you're comparing the brands, I think I would expect Toyota to have more of the value play. But, as long as one of them is out here. Yeah, I mean, you don't need all-wheel drive out here in Southern California. So,
and as we talked about in a recent episode, if you have good winter tires, maybe you don't need it even here. Anyway, I digress. Dave, you were recently with Mazda.
Yeah, it was Mazda CX-5. Popped down to, drove down to Orange County, spent the day with it and filming it. The video's up. It's got some strong suits and some weak points in that car. Looks the business. Love the looks. Some other things I don't love. I'm going to tease it. I'm going to leave it right there. People can go watch the video. It also has a much larger screen, which Mazda screens are probably the biggest weak spot of most Mazda models. They have this like very narrow rectangular screen that's kind of a touch screen, kind of rotary controller. All that's gone. Big old screen and dash. That was nice to see. Yeah. But it's not perfect, and there's some considerable drawbacks to that car, which I was kind of disappointed by. But go check it out.
Awesome. The last question on access to cars that I want to ask, and mainly because I want to be able to cut it out and respond with it if we get these comments on our videos, which happen every once in a while. It's the question of, do automakers pay us? I can't tell you how many times.
Or do they get mad when we don't like one of their cars?
I can't tell you how many times on a review there's a comment of like, oh, they paid you for this review. And which one of you wants to take that?
I'll go.
Okay, Natalie, did they pay you for your glowing compliments?
Absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. They did technically pay to get the vehicle into my hands. Yeah. That is it. And they have paid to get the vehicle.
Not you. They're paying the fleet company to get the car to you.
Exactly. They've it's an expense for them, but as Dave covered earlier in this episode, it's part of their marketing budget. Similarly, they pay when we go on these trips. Same for every other journalist that's attending, unless their outlet strictly forbids it. We do not forbid that because we would then have to spend our budget and we would have to make choices about what we're reviewing, and that would be inherently biased. So
you're talking about the travel costs. They pay for the flight, hotel to get out to their program. Yeah.
Correct. So no, they do not pay us. And to date, I have never had a manufacturer say anything to me about anything negative I've said about the vehicle. I have heard of that happening occasionally, but it's where I've heard about this is like a really big publication where they've said, hey, don't send that reviewer anymore. And even then the chief editor generally says like, we're going to do our strategy. But no, absolutely. They do not pay. We would not accept. We are making pure editorial decisions and comments, and it's based purely on our expertise and our review process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an unequivocal no.
Yeah.
I will say there's two kinds of PR folks that work for automakers because I've panned lots of cars in my years and may have earned a reputation for doing that. There's two kinds of reactions I've gotten. One is from PR folks who will quietly pull you aside and be like, all right, you were kind of rough in the car, but like you're not wrong. Like they know. They're not the ones creating the car.
They've driven it.
And you know, these people, you've been working with them, some of them for 10, 15 years. They can be like, they're like, okay. And their job is sort of to mitigate that or to sort of explain it. But a good, self-aware PR person either won't say anything or they'll quietly just be like, all right, well, okay, that's fair, right? Like I think our thing is if we're going to criticize a vehicle, be fair about it. None of us at CarGurus are going in and be like, I don't like the color, right? If we have a criticism, it is a meaningful critique because that vehicle has failed to meet what its competition is doing at the time, or it is failing to meet a use case that's its intended audience is going to use it for. Like it's not just feeling like you don't like one automaker or another. I think we're all pretty good at sort of objectively saying this vehicle has flaws. These are the flaws. These are why they are flaws. So as long as you're fair and explain it, then the automakers understand that, right? Like I said, it's sort of a calculated risk. They need coverage for these vehicles. They know none of them are perfect. They have reasons why these vehicles, no vehicle can be perfect. So there's those automakers. There are a few, and what's funny, there is one PR team. There's one person in a PR team. It's the same automaker that's very vindictive if you break their embargo. Again, I'm not going to name names. They get very sensitive if you criticize their cars. It has never stopped me. In fact, it's almost more fun. But it's one of these where like they've drank the Kool-Aid and you're like, they get quietly to you. They're like, oh, you said this, this, and this about the last car you reviewed for us. And you're like, can you not see those flaws? Like it's pretty obvious to me. And it's odd that they're all in, right? They've completely drank the corporate Kool-Aid. Their cars are perfect. Everything they do is like, ironclad, and there's no reason anyone should critique it. So there are a few of those folks. But generally, you have pretty, again, it goes back to being fair.
Yeah.
And if you are evaluating that car in the appropriate context, criticism is justified.
Last thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of our speed round, right? So earlier I said you can give some detail, but it's been a bit, so let's bring it back to the speedy. What is not your most favorite, but what do you think the most successful first drive or preview, whatever, best press trip you've been on? So you can answer it as your favorite or most effective. Your call. Natalie, why don't you go first because we just heard from Dave.
I'm going most effective. It was a GM trip.
Okay.
You were with me.
Yes.
It was the Chevy Equinox. And what made it so effective was that they gave us plenty of time with the car. It was pretty no nonsense. Sometimes it's stressful when we get two seats because I'm like, man, I have to get my impressions and I have to share them on video.
Stressful.
Yeah. And there's not always a ton of time. Like
it's not easy for you guys that are on camera. Like you have to sit in the car and form your thoughts and present your thoughts
real time.
Then
and then be accountable to that on the internet forever. Sometimes I later get a car for a week and I'm like, oh man, if I had spent a week with this first, I would have said something different. If I had driven it at night, I would have said
that's the thing.
different.
We're never driving at night on press trips, so we don't.
I have occasionally,
That's why
but so it was in Detroit, which was nice because everyone had shorter flights except the California folks. And Kiana, it was Kiana from GM. She just planned, it was so efficient, so effective. Even though it was 3 different trims, they didn't waste a lot of time with switching around cars. It was very well planned. She even, I don't know if you remember, we went late filming and she made sure we still got to eat.
That's always nice.
And we did still get quality time with the GM PR people. Like we still had dinner and got to chat with them. There just wasn't a lot of fluff. It was very efficient and I appreciate that. We got everything we needed. It's great. And it was just a 2-day, so one night, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
That was my most effective. One of my most fun, I'm wearing a hat from getting to go to Dirtfish with Ford for the Mustang Mach-E. And that was pretty cool. Rally driving in mud. But yeah.
I'm going to go next. The most effective trips, I think, are the ones that show you something about the car that you wouldn't normally see in everyday life. Dave, you mentioned a track for for a car that belongs there. Like I'm not doing that in my everyday life. So those trips that show you what a car can do are nice. Subaru does a really good job of getting us off-road. That's kind of their mantra. Their cars have that vibe. The most effective trip I've been on was the first time I went really off-road, and it was actually the Grand Cherokee 4xe. Ooh. It was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago when the 4xe, no longer with us. So this was back then. But the off-road course was the most intense off-road course I had been to at that point, and probably still. Matt was driving. Again, we're talking about Matt again. Jeez, I hope his ears are burning. The car, it was rock crawling, and it really showed what that vehicle can do. And we bottomed out a couple times. There was a wall, I swear it was vertical, that we went up. And it just really showed this car is, Jeep has a reputation, but they actually backed it up by saying, take this big SUV and go rock crawl with it. It was really cool.
Because
sometimes you go
off-roading on a muddy field.
These off-road trips. Yeah, and they have you they're like, oh, we're going to take our car off-roading. And you're driving down you're like, guys, this is barely paved. This is not off-roading. You're barely going up a tiny little incline. They're like, ooh.
There was another trip recently. It's a 2025, so it's a recent video, but the off-road elements were all going downhill.
Oh.
And it was not a car that was really an off-roader. They called it a soft roader, which I love that phrase.
Soft roader, cute.
But all the elements were going down the hill. And it's you could do this in anything. So, but the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe really, it impressed me. And it was okay, you guys are really wshowing me something here. So that was my favorite. Dave, wrap us up.
Mine's what's yours? Like yours for the same reasons. When Ford came out with its new Bronco,
nice.
Ford has these places called the Off Rodeo.
Yeah,
there's one in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, Moab, Nevada, and there's one more somewhere Tennessee, I think. And it's these places where if you buy a Bronco, you can take it, and it's these off-roading courses. They have instructors there. They sort of show you the whole 9 yards. Or if you don't own a Bronco, you can go there and go a half day, and they'll provide a Bronco for you. We were at Texas facility. It was the first one they opened. And like you were saying, Elliot, and to the counterpoint to these soft-roading sometimes you do on these press drives, this was legit. And I've done some real off-roading in my day. This was legit off-roading in these completely stock Ford Broncos. And to have that access and to sort of see the true ability, because here Ford is, they're coming out with the Bronco, they're going after the Jeep Wrangler, they're trying to prove that this car's been gone for decades, we're coming back in a big way. They had to make clear this vehicle's capability, and they couldn't sugarcoat it. And so you were on these these trails that are legit trails, crazy rock climbing and crawling and river wading and all that, and it was very clear that is a highly capable vehicle because you weren't hitting limits, but you were absolutely testing what that car could do or that truck. So that was a great one because, like you were saying, Elliot, of you got a true understanding of its capabilities in okay, this is an authentic use case. There's no way to fudge this vehicle's abilities when you're going up a muddy rock wall. So yeah, it was great, and it's just fun. Come on, getting cars.
It's fun.
So. Especially when you don't own them and you scrape something, you're like, oh,
that's for sure.
Bummer.
Yeah, some of the sounds that we made in that Grand Cherokee, if it were mine, I would have been a little annoyed. But that's what they're there for. So that is our behind the curtain of auto journalism. If you have questions, please leave a comment and we'll try to answer them, or maybe answer it in a future episode. Which future episode next week? We're talking about our favorite, coolest car features we miss, car features that we wish never left us, and our current favorites. So that's next week.
And some features we wish would leave us.
That too. We're gonna have a couple of those. Really good call. But thank you guys for potting. I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Bye, folks.